All right, guys. So I just want to preface this video by saying I'm not a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber guy. This is probably going to be my last update on this build. And I've had a bunch of people ask if I'm going to stream on Twitch. I'm not interested in streaming on Twitch, and I'm not interested in being like a YouTuber guy either. I just make these videos for fun. So, if you send me all these messages being like, bro, where's your written guide? It's like, I'm just a regular guy, okay? I just make these videos for fun. I just share these things to help people because I enjoy it. And honestly, because there's so many bad videos on YouTube with people just giving really bad advice, that I just thought it might help some people if you did. So I just had to kind of make videos so that I could fight against all the crappy information there is on YouTube. And since this is probably going to be my last update on this one, I think what I'm going to do is probably link a bunch of channels on this video that I think are people who are very smart and good warrior players. And these people were recommended to me by people in this YouTube channel in the comments section, as well as on Discord. So I'm going to link their YouTubes. The first one will be Carnarius. He's a very good warrior player, and everyone has said he has some very good armor guides. I haven't had a chance to watch them, but I'm sure that he probably is doing some great things. He was doing some good things last patch as well. The second one is a guy named King Konger who is playing a Stampede build. I don't really know what he's doing because, again, I haven't had time to watch it, but I have had you guys in the comments say that it's pretty cool and that he actually is doing really good work. So I'm going to make sure I link him as well. If you guys can think of anyone else other than the people I mentioned in this video, please comment below so that I can add them to the comment section and we can link them as well. I just want to make sure that you guys don't end up following these kind of nonsense clickbait YouTube videos that are just rampant, and these people are just giving you really bad advice. Like, I've probably seen about like 10 different videos that have been linked to me where people have basically just tried to copy my build, but they've done a really crappy job at plagiarizing my build, so it just sucks, and like they're just giving people really bad advice. So I just want to make sure you guys actually get good advice from sources that are good and reliable. So if you guys have any more channels you think are doing good work, please link them in the comments section. You won't be able to link them because YouTube doesn't allow links to be pasted, but what you will be able to do is just mention them by name, and then I can go and find their YouTube channel and I can link it for you. So mention who they are if you think they're doing good work, and I will try and add them to the video description of this video so that you're able to go and learn from them as well. But anyways, that's pretty much it. So I'll give you a rundown on everything I've done, and then hopefully you can take from that what you need to be successful and finish out your Atlas. And hopefully if there's anything that I missed, these other guys that you mentioned or that I link below will be able to cover in the gaps. All right, guys, this is probably my last update on this one. And again, for all the people who are asking, I'm sorry that I don't like stream on Twitch and stuff. I already have a really good job that I like, and it gives me a lot of freedom, which is why I'm able to play Path of Exile during the day in my home office when everyone else is supposed to be like working. And I mean, to be fair, I'm supposed to be working too, but instead I'm just playing PoE 2. But anyways, so I'm going to take you through this character one last time so you can learn everything you need to know. I haven't spent too much on my gear, just so you know, so anyone can replicate this. I also did a version of this build without this helmet. So if you want to learn about how to replicate my build, there's going to be leveling guides for you in the comment section. I would highly suggest that you go through the video description or the comment section, click those guides, go through them and learn everything you can if you're struggling, because everything you need to be able to be successful all the way through to the end of your playthrough with your warrior should be in those guides. So you can set up the budget version of this if you just go back and check my old guides. Everything should be there. Everything you need should be there. So I'm going to talk about stats first. Most important things to stats is obviously having good armor rating, lots of life, and maxing your resists. I can't stress how important this is. Maxing your resists is the most important defensive layer. Fire, cold, lightning being maxed. You have to max these first, no matter what you do. And then chaos resistance, I mean, I've only had about 50 probably this whole time. I also run a shield about 50% of the time, and my chaos res gets bumped up there as well. Armor this patch is very good, so you want to get as much armor as you can, and this armor applying to elemental damage is a very strong mod this patch. This is an extremely strong mod, so you should try and get this wherever you can get it. And I obviously have a bunch of it on my skill tree, so try and get a lot of this on your armor and that kind of thing if you can, because this is definitely a strong mod. And then of course your life is your final pool, because everything's got to go through these, go through this, and eventually it's going to end up here. So if you can, you max these first, get this as high as you can, and then get this as high as you can. So there's your chain. And if you're struggling, don't be afraid to run a shield if you have to. You can also run this setup with no Giant's Blood. I ran this setup with no Giant's Blood for the longest time. You should probably be able to clear the whole game, even max tier Simulacrum, without Giant's Blood. You probably can do it with just one really strong hammer. You should be able to clear max tier Simulacrum. I haven't tried it myself because I used a shield when I did max tier Simulacrum, but you probably can if you have good enough armor rating. I bet that you can clear max tier Simulacrum with literally just one hammer, and you can kill every boss in the game with just one hammer. I killed every boss in the game with one hammer before I upgraded. So don't get hung up on running Giant's Blood. You'll be able to do it without it. As far as the gear goes, I'm running 2 sets of hammers. I'm running all kinds of fancy stuff, but you don't need all this fancy stuff. You can literally clear the game with just one decent hammer. So if you aren't convinced on weapon set swaps, don't worry about weapon set swaps. Don't worry about swapping your weapons if it's too confusing. You should be able to clear the game even if you just use one weapon and just follow my tree roughly and take the nodes that you think are important. So don't get hung up on weapon swaps. You still should be able to finish the game, no problem. So just don't worry about that. And I'll take you through all my other pieces of gear as well. All right, so since I updated my last video, I've of course gone and upgraded all my gem levels to 20. So now all my gem levels are at plus 17 from my modifiers when I have 2 hammers on. I also moved some support gems around just because I'm trying to get more value. Initially, I was running the Comms Madness, and I liked that quite a bit, and I still think it is very good. But the problem was when I swapped to this helm, I had to drop a bunch of area of effect nodes on my tree. So when I dropped all these area of effect nodes on my tree from here and all these other places to travel down to these nodes here and get into this stuff for the surrounded, so I like this setup better on my old setup with the Comms Madness when I had more area of effect, because when I used my Sunder, I had a bigger spread, and I don't have as big a spread anymore because I lost so much area of effect, so I can't cover as much of the screen. So I changed to using a slightly different setup, and I know you guys in the comments section said you were doing something similar also. So I swapped to Fist of War and Magnified Effect. Now, there's something very interesting you have to note. there is a cost multiplier on these skills. And because bloodletting gives you damage per cost multiplier, using gems that gives you cost multiplication increases your overall damage. So you can see when I take out magnified effect and I drop it back in, it goes up to 280 from 244. Do you see that? So the bloodletting changes how much damage it does. Now, so what I did when I switched these gems is now I'm just shooting one long pillar. And I use this kind of like a sniper rifle to just sort of like snipe. Well, at that time it's split because of my branching fissures. But every once in a while it'll shoot out two, just because I have the node on the tree that shoots out two. So every once in a while it'll shoot out two just because of this node up here, the splitting ground. So I use this one long pillar is a bit like a sniper rifle to just snipe rares out of packs. So if I see a pack of abyssal monsters, I'll just snipe the abyssal rare out of the pack with this Sunder setup that I'm using now. Now the problem I have with that is now I don't have a clear skill for around myself other than Leap Slam. So Leap Slam is kind of my only 360 degree clear. So to solve that, I started using the ugliest skill in the game, and I hate this skill with a passion, but it's impossible to ignore the fact that it's very effective at covering the screen. So you can use Molten Blast to cover the screen around yourself, which is really good for clearing out trash. So Molten Blast is very good for clearing out trash, and it's important to note that it works much better when you have two hammers. So if you are running two hammers, you get twice as many projectiles. So you just have to watch for that. That's something you have to pay attention to. And again, you can still run this on a one hammer setup. Like I cleared basically the whole game with just one hammer. So if you can't get to Giant's Blood, just don't worry about it. Just run one hammer. It's totally fine. But yeah, Molten Blast is very good at clearing the screen around you. And if you run two hammers, it shoots twice as many projectiles. Now, this skill works great, but again, it's horrible eye cancer. Like, look at that. It's just awful. Like, my God, what a disgusting skill. Yeah, but so since I had to drop my Sunder, I had to switch to Molten Blast just so I could cover the screen. And that helps a lot. It's much better. So I would definitely recommend that if you're running two hammers especially. It does still work okay if you run a hammer and a shield. There's nothing wrong with it running in a hammer and a shield. So when you go up to a pack of rare enemies, you can simply just snipe out the rare enemy with your Sunder, especially if it's really tanky abyssal monsters. You can just kind of snipe them out. You can also throw your Forge Hammer, blow it up, and then just start sniping them. So once you get that Forge Hammer on them, you can just start sniping out those rare monsters and getting rid of them that way. So really super important to set it up that way. Now, on my Mace Strike, you can just ignore these gems because I'm just using these as a storage location for my other gems. So just don't pay any attention to these. On my Earth Shatter, I'm using Heft, Armor Break, Branching Fissures, Rapid Attacks 2, and Close Combat 2. So Close Combat 2 gives you damage up close. Rapid Attacks makes you attack faster. Branching Fissures gives you more pillars. So when you go to cast your Earth Shatter, you just multiply your pillars. I'm using Armor Break 3, like I said before, to generate endurance charges so that I can maintain my war cries. So if you're curious about any of this stuff, you can go back and watch my previous videos because I've talked about this a lot in the past. And then I'm just using Heft for more max fizz. Now with my Sunder, I'm using Bloodletting, Rapid Attacks 2, not Rapid Attacks 3 or Rapid Attacks 1, Rapid Attacks 2, Life Leech 3, Fist of War 2, and Magnified Area. So this Fist of War 2 and this Magnified Area, they make this thing just a bit more like a sniper rifle because you can see how far that goes out. So I can snipe like a rare enemy pretty much across the map with this setup. See, I can just kind of snipe them out and get rid of them. And every once in a while, my additional fissure will kick in, as you can see, and I still get a bonus fissure anyways, even though I'm not running the bonus fissure. So this is the setup I've been using for sniping out tanky rare enemies, and it works really well. Of course, on my Forge Hammer, I'm still running the same setup. I have Rapid Attacks on my Forge Hammer right now, which isn't really necessary, but I put it on there just so I could throw it at enemies faster, because sometimes when I'm running through a map, I'll see a rare enemy, and I'll just pitch my hammer in his face and kill him. So this is a really super easy way to do that. So you could swap this out. Honestly, the best support gem to pop in here is probably Rakita's Flow. Honestly, Rakita's Flow is probably the best one. So this is probably your best one for your Forge Hammer. So I'd pick that one up if you do. I have to go and get a couple more divines so that I can afford one. But so I just had rapid attacks in it. Rage 3 also very good. So definitely run Rage 3. And I have a slightly different setup for doing Simulacrum. And if you're curious about how this setup works in Simulacrum, go watch my Simulacrum guide. I have it in the Simulacrum guide. I have a setup that's really easy to do max tier Simulacrum. So Rage 3, Heft. I put Heft on my Forge Hammer. Ambrosia for Shock. Fist of War 2. And Elemental Armament 2. Now my Leap Slam, I'm using Rapid Attacks 2. Crater, Branching Fissures 2, Life Leech 3. Really important to run Life Leech 3 once you get into really high tier, like hard, difficult maps. And then Bleed 3, because I'm comboing my Bleed with my Herald of Blood. So that's why I'm running the Bleed in there. But Life Leech in high tier maps will make a big difference for your survivability. Branching Fissures, obviously, in Crater just helps spread those fissures around. So just combos nicely with your other skills because you can reignite all your fissures, which just looks cool too when you're like blasting through the map and you're blowing stuff up and it's just having a great time. It's really fun. And the Leap Slam, you could also use Rage 3 in your Leap Slam. The reason I'm not using Rage 3 is because I picked up a gem down here that gives me a bunch of Rage. So I don't need Rage 3 anymore because I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rage on melee hit. So every time I hit an enemy, I get 6 rage per melee hit. So I can stack rage really fast. So I don't need my Rage 3 support gems as much anymore, just because I get rage really, really quickly. So Rage 3 is not as useful for me, but if you don't have that, Rage 3 will be really useful for you. So use Rage 3 in your skills if you have to. Like in Sunder, for example, where I have rapid attacks, you should probably swap to Rage 3 if you don't have Rage Gen the way I have Rage Gen. But I have a lot of Rage Gen, so I don't need that. On Molten Blast, I'm using Nova Projectiles, Ricochet, Rapid Attacks 2, Life Leech 3, and Bleed 3. Now, it's really important if you set your Molten Blast up this way, you need to have a good source of fizz damage added to attacks. Now, I have extra fizz on my weapon that is added. I also have fizz added through my Anoint on my amulet up here. Because I've added fizz damage, gain 8% of damage as extra fizz damage. In order to make Molten Blast work, you need to have a source of Life Leech on your Molten Blast to sustain yourself so you don't die. And Bleed 3, you have to have fizz damage to apply bleed. So if you set your Molten Blast up this way, you have to make sure you have fizz damage. You need fizz damage on the skill so that you can apply Life Leech and bleed. So just make sure when you check your tooltip on this that you actually have a source of fizz. Otherwise, using this skill is going to feel terrible because you need fizz and you need fizz to bleed and you need fizz to Life Leech. So if you're using the skill on your warrior, this is what you're going to let you run this. And you can run this even in the juiciest maps and it will keep you alive. Maybe I'll be able to attach a clip of that so you can see what it looks like. I'm still using Seismic Cry with Tireless. I forgot to put my other gems back in here. Whoops. Yeah, with cooldown recovery, obviously. And this still works really good. I like Seismic Cry better for mapping and bosses, but Fortifying Cry is good in Simulacrum. Infernal Cry, you could use Fortifying Cry for mapping too if you prefer it. Infernal Cry, I'm still using the same thing with Raging Cry, Tireless, Cooldown Recovery, and Magnified Area. And again, if you're curious about this stuff, you can just go back and watch my previous videos. I'm also running Corrosion, Poison 3, Bursting Plague, Magnified Area, and Bleed 3 on my Herald of Blood. And I'm running Magnified Area, Precision 2, Vitality 1, and Fire Mastery on my Herald of Ash. So these you could swap out to whatever you like best. I'm using Herald of Blood, but maybe you prefer like Herald of Ice or Scavenge Plating or Time of Need or whatever you need. But I find the biggest problem with a warrior is you just don't clear very fast. I find that's really the biggest problem is you don't clear at a good enough speed. So you really, I mean, at least to me, it seems like you need extra clear. So it's just to make the game not feel so bad. It's nice to have double heralds just so that you can clear the screen easier. And I've talked about this in previous videos, so if you need to learn more about this stuff, you can go watch. I used to use Herald of Plague, but I think Herald of Ash is actually much better. And Herald of Blood is still very good. As long as you have a source of bleed on your attacks for clearing, you can get your Herald chain started. And that's another reason the bleed on your Molten Blast is really good, because you can chain your Heralds really easily. So I definitely would recommend that. Maybe I can go jump in a map with a breach in a minute here. I gotta probably juice up some maps, but so yeah, that's how I've set up all the skills. So that's basically all the skills. Still use my Leap Slam if I'm feeling too lazy. I use my Sunder to snipe tanky rare enemies, and then I use my Molten Blast to clear out really crappy trash. So I'll just jump in, do a couple spins to get my bleed chain going. Boom, boom, bleed chain is going. I can throw my hammer at a tanky rare if I see one. If I see some abyssal monsters, I can throw my hammer down, blow it up, start sundering the ground while they spawn, and they'll just instantly die. But yeah, like that really makes a big difference. So that's how I've set up all the skills. So if you're curious about how I swap the skills around, that feels really good. And if you can, try and get these skill speed runes. Like, man, skill speed runes make a world of difference. You're really going to want these. They really are like a life changer in this game. All right, so I've had a lot of people say, man, I can't replicate your damage. I don't know how you do so much damage. And like, I understand that my damage numbers look really high, but you have to understand where the damage is coming from. So the damage specifically is coming from running flat damage on my gloves and rings. So, and damage changes if you're running like two weapons too. You got to understand that on my swap, I have more damage because I'm spec'd for big damage on my second weapon set. So it's important to note that as well. But you just have to see, like, for example, right here, my Sunder is doing 427k, right? So if I take my gloves off, it goes to 320,000. Like, you guys have to understand how much value I'm getting here, because I have 2 to all melee skills on my gloves and flat damage. You're looking at these gloves and you're like, man, those are just gloves. But look, these gloves are a quarter of my damage. They're a quarter of my damage. I get 100,000 damage from my gloves. Like, look at that. Like, you have to understand, this is a quarter of my damage right here in these gloves, because I have flat damage, attack speed, all melee skills on my gloves. I also have life on kill. Life leech would be a good option too. And I have maximum life. Now just get what you can afford on your gloves. Attack speed is probably my biggest priority because I hate feeling slow in this game. But flat damage and melee skills is also very good. If you can just get attack speed and all melee skills, even that might be good. Let's just see if we can find some quick. Let's just go gloves, all melee skills, and attack speed. Let's see what we can find here. So we'll go 1 and we'll go 10, and we'll go 2 and we'll go 10, and we'll do 100 armor. Well, let's do 50 armor. 50 armor is probably a safe bet. So look, you can pick up a decent set of gloves, and look, these are missing 2 mods, so you can add 2 more mods to these, and these are just a couple of nulls. Look at this set right here. This is a decent set of gloves. 150 to maximum life, 2 to all melee skills, 10% increased attack speed. These are decent gloves. They're only 40x. So like, this is a good set of gloves. Just as an example, they don't have the flat damage on them, because gloves with flat damage are obviously going to be a little more. But here's again a decent set of gloves. Flat damage, melee skills, attack speed. They're not overly expensive. So here's another decent set of gloves. Flat damage, melee skills, attack speed, life per enemy killed. So there's lots of gloves out there. Just get what you can afford. I think I got lucky with these gloves because I bought them for really cheap. I also have flat damage on my rings. So another thing you guys have to understand is a lot of my damage comes from my rings as well. So like, this damage on my rings makes a big difference to my damage. Same thing with my amulet. Like, look, if I take my amulet off, I'm getting over 100,000 damage from my amulet. Like, you have to understand that all my damage isn't here. My damage isn't in my weapon. It's in all my other gear. Your damage doesn't just come from here. It comes from everywhere else. It comes from your rings. It comes from your amulet. It comes from your gloves. And this is an important thing to understand, because if you're an old Diablo 2 player like me, This stuff didn't used to affect your damage the way it does in PoE. So you just have to understand how much damage you can get from your gloves, rings, and amulet. So this is really important. If you're trying to scale your damage, you're going to need all of this stuff. And good anoints for your amulets are stuff that's going to give you damage. I'm using material solidification. So 8% of damage is extra physical damage and 15% increased effect of fully broken armor. Another great option is also up here, volcanic skin. That's a good option there. A good option would be here, molten being. There's many good options on this tree for damage. I mean, crushing verdict is another great example. Singular purpose. There's a million good and anoints for your amulet and good megalomaniac choices, but honestly, warriors feel like they have enough damage to me, so I've been focusing more on defensive options, and that's why I recently swapped this megalomaniac for a more defensive option. But yeah, that's how, like, if you're curious how to replicate my damage, this is where you're missing out. And like, obviously I'm running this constricting command, so I'm getting a fair amount of damage. But again, the only reason I'm getting that damage is because I'm running all these nodes. Now, if I drop all of these nodes and I go back to the old tree I was running before, where I was running all of this damage and all this damage and all this damage, I'll get all this damage back. I was doing almost the same amount of damage without this helmet. The problem was that I couldn't run as fast. So I lost area of effect. I maintained the same amount of damage, but I managed to gain more movement speed by running this helmet. So this helmet is really valuable if you have the currency because it makes you move faster. And it's really important that if you do get this helmet, to get one that says requires 5 fewer enemies to be surrounded. That's a really super value mod. So just make sure you get one that says at least 5. Otherwise, it's really not worth it, honestly. I would just run my old build until you can afford one of these because it's just not worth it. And then sometimes I'm using a shield in maps. Some maps are just like really juiced up and the enemies do a lot of damage, and having a shield makes a big difference. So it's just like big armor rating, some resist, some life. Also, they shields come with armor as elemental rolls now, and the armor as elemental rolls is really good. So if you get one that's armor as elemental, that's a super high value one. So these rolls, armor applies to elemental damage, are very good. So if you can get some of these rolls on your gear, definitely do that. I'm still using the same boots I was using before. Maximum life, strength, resists. Belts, just strength, life, resists. Some charm slots. I'm just using a stun charm, a bleed charm, and a poison charm. You can use whatever charms you like. Freeze charms are also very good. If you're struggling, you're dying to freezes, it's probably a good idea to get yourself a Nascent's Hope. Even if you, I mean, it's probably fine if you don't have the currency to buy a Nascent's Hope, that you just buy like a regular basic one. But if you have the currency to buy a Nascent's Hope is a very, very good charm because it does make you immune to freeze. So if you do have the currency to buy a Nascent's Hope charm like this, it's not a bad idea. And I mean, don't forget to just exchange currency if you need to, if you need one, just to like need to be able to afford one. It's not a horrible idea. So I would definitely do that. Just, get an Orb of Annulment or whatever and get a Nascent's Hope, and you'll do okay. So let's see, we'll just buy this one off this guy really quick so I have one. So this is probably the best one. Energy shield restart charts on use, but you won't need this if you're playing warrior. I'm just going to buy one because I'm going to start another character and I'm going to need one anyway. So I'm going to buy one now. But if you have the currency to get a Nascent's Hope just so that you can use it on your other characters in the future, it's not a bad idea just because it is the best freezing charm. So when you get frozen, this one's very good. I haven't found I've been having too much problems with getting frozen as long as you're using these armor applies to elemental damage. It seems like that helps with your freeze a lot. I don't really ever get frozen, at least not myself while I'm playing. So maybe your guys' experience is different, and if you are having problems with getting frozen, pick up one of these Nascent Hope charms or just run a basic freeze charm. This one's just a fancy one. So yeah, that's what I would recommend there. The belt, the heavy belt's probably the best base. The other belt base that's really good is the one that instantly applies a percentage of your potion. So when you use a health pot, there's another belt, that the utility belt, that applies a portion of it instantly. So that's a very high value one. Also getting a mana flask with lots of charges on use, because that will combine with your ambrosia, because your ambrosia consumes part of your mana flask, and if your mana flask has more charges, your ambrosia is going to do more damage. So very valuable. But that's basically how I have all gear set up. I just have some flat damage in my rings, attributes, strength, some resists. These rings aren't anything fancy. I think I paid like a divine for each of these rings. And then this one got wrecked because it got Valorbed and it took away the quality on it, which was pretty sad, but that's okay, I guess. That'll teach me. But yeah, anyways, I haven't bothered to buy any of this new stuff. I could go out and buy new stuff. I really haven't felt like it, and it hasn't really bothered me. I haven't felt like I needed to upgrade stuff, so I've just been kind of running the same stuff. This character's basically done. I can kill everything in the game really easy with it at this point, so I just don't feel like I need to upgrade anything anymore. But that's pretty much it for gear. If you guys have questions about gear, just put them in the comments section below. Maybe there's someone there who can give you a hand and help you out. On your weapon, again, attack speed, really important. Again, go back and watch my previous videos. I'm running skill speed runes in my weapon for mapping. The reason I'm running the skill speed runes is I prefer them for mapping, and for boss damage I'm just using regular physical damage runes. So this weapon gives me the onslaught on kill. It came with extra fizz damage and it's got lots of attack speed, so I just like how that feels because I can move around fast, and it works really good when you combine it with a second hammer with lots of attack speed too, because then you can move really fast. So yeah, I don't know, it feels good. Feels good to be able to attack fast. But yeah, that's basically it for gear. So again, if you got any questions, just put them down below. Alright, so I'll give you one more little rip through the skill tree here, and I'll make a bunch of suggestions. So pay attention, because you can tweak this for your setup very easily if you just take advantage of the suggestions I'm going to make. So I pathed down, I looped through the melee damage. I guess I should start up here. I grabbed this little fork right through the middle to get Hulking Form, Mysterious Lineage, and Stone Skin. So those are all the ones that I grabbed. So these are probably the highest value. They're really, really good. So went down, and this doesn't matter. You can play this on any ascendancy, so don't get too hung up on ascendancy. You can run this on any ascendancy. None of the skills I'm using are specific to Titan. Titan just has some nice stuff, especially the extra inventory space. And I'm a little loot goblin, so I like the extra inventory space. But I looped down through here to get Brutal. I looped down to get Relentless. Now you could probably even drop these 2 points and just run Sturdy Metal if you feel like you have enough regen, but I like to have a little bit of regen, so I grabbed these 2 nodes to get the regeneration. And then you also get some strength, which gives you a little bit of HP. Now if you feel like you don't have enough life regen, you can pick up these 2 nodes right here. Now I feel like I have enough life regen at 222, so I'm not running these, but if you think you're lacking life regeneration, grab these 2 nodes right here. There's very easy nodes to grab, and you're going to get 6% more life regen for 2 points, which is pretty cheap, I would say. Then you loop down this way. I did one little split here on weapon set 1 to get a little bit more area of effect. So I grabbed that little split right there. I looped down and I grabbed the Burning Strikes. I went up and I did a little skill speed split right here for mapping. So I'm running this one on mapping because I just needed more mapping speed. I went down here, I grabbed my crit on weapon set 2 because I have crit on my other hammer. I did a little loop through here, and then I just split right here so I could grab these on weapon set 1 for mapping. So this is all area effect stuff. So I grabbed that on weapon set 1. You could also split off on this bottom side, which I think would be fine as well, just as an example. So I think doing it this way would be also fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I show you how to allocate those points really quick just so you understand. So when you're doing the weapon set allocation, you just go into the node and you just split your points like this. So you just go in and you select. So when you hold down on the point, you'll be able to select weapon set 1 or weapon set 2. So just select weapon set 1 if it's for mapping, and then go like this. So now I have more area of effect, and I looped this way. You could go this way if you want more area attack damage. But if I need more area effect, it's more efficient for me to go that way. So I wanted a little more area of effect, so I went that way. Previously I was going this way, and this way is also fine. So there's nothing wrong with going this way. Definitely nothing wrong with that way because you're gonna need a lot more damage. And you could run this on both weapon sets. I used to run this on both weapon sets and it was also good. So I went down this way, and I left a couple of points out so you guys can make necessary tweaks to this if you need to. So I left a few extra freed up points. So straight down here, grab the blood magic, grab this from nothing diamond, just like I just showed you guys. Popped it in here, and I can reach those 4 nodes now. So a bunch of options for From Nothing Diamonds. Looped here, grabbed the Behemoth, grabbed Unbending. I grabbed this Megalomaniac. The reason I grabbed this Megalomaniac and swapped this one from my previous Megalomaniac, which was this one down here, I just pathed to that one on Weapon Set 1. And I really wanted to get Blade Catcher. So this is a really high value node. So if you can, try and path to this. I found that once I started running this in maps, I felt like I just wouldn't die anymore. Like I couldn't even get close to dying because of the crit reduction was a really, really big help. So I think if you're struggling with like crit damage bonus on maps, this is probably a really, really good node. And once I put this node on, I felt a really big defensive difference. So I do think this is a very good node to run. And I was running this node previously, but then when I switched to my constricting command, I stopped running that node and went for these nodes down here. So switching to my constricting command lowered my defenses, which I wasn't a big fan of. I was also running this node up here before, which I think is good. So I think if you still need more defenses, you can loop in here as well and grab Bulwark. I think this one is very good too, because projectile attacks do a lot of damage. That's usually what kills you is projectile attacks, I'm sure. But yeah, these ones, boom, boom, boom. I have this on my Megalomaniac. You don't have to get it on your Megalomaniac. Megalomaniacs pretty much are whatever you want. So if you just find a node on the tree that you want, just search up that Megalomaniac and just buy it. There's loads of them. They're usually pretty cheap. There's a million nodes on this tree that would be good, you know? You can get a Megalomaniac with this, Megalomaniac with this, Megalomaniac with just about anything on the tree. But I picked up this one because I wanted this and I didn't have enough points to path to it. So I grabbed this one with Blade Catcher, and it also came with Doomsayer, which was kind of cool. So it came with Herald Skills AoE for more clear. So that was just a nice little added bonus. I'm still running this Accuracy. This would also be a decent one to either like anoint or run on a Megalomaniac if you don't want to run this extra strength. Ideally, I think you probably should path in here to grab this and grab this if you can. Just because I think this node's really high valuable if you don't have it anointed or if you don't have it on a Megalomaniac or whatever else. I think this is pretty high value on this patch because armor being a lot better than it used to be. And then yeah, grab all of that stuff. Now up here, I grabbed all this crit stuff on Weapon Set 2 just because I have some crit on my second hammers. If you don't have crit on your second hammers, just grab all of this stuff. Grab all of this stuff. So also a great option. If you really feel like you need defenses, you could even come up in here and grab all of this because these are good too. Polished Iron's a great node, especially in Simulacrum. So if you really feel like you need extra armor, you can get a lot of value right there. This node right here is not too bad. These Aftershocks nodes are not too bad. These Mace nodes down here are not too bad. So all that stuff is good, but this is what I was running. I looped down this way, grabbed Brutality, picked up the Giant's Blood to run the 2 hammers, came down here. Now, very important change right here. These Time Lost Rubies, they're in Maxroll, they're bugged, so they never show up in the spot they're supposed to. So this Time Lost Ruby is supposed to be right here, and this one is really good. It says increased attack damage, empowered attacks deal 3% increased damage, notable passive skills grant 4% increased life regen, and notable passive skills also grant 1 rage on melee hit. So every one of these nodes, as you can see now, gives me empowered attack bonus and attack damage. Now, attack damage is better than melee damage. So you see how this one here has melee damage, stun threshold, empowered attacks, life regen. This one's also good, but attack damage is better than melee damage. So it's just good to note that if you can get attack damage, because it's going to affect more of your skills that aren't melee related. And of course, because I'm running this, all of these little nodes, so I'm going to get 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%. So there's 12% right there. Then I get 3%, 3%, 3%, another 9% right there, 3%, 3%, 3%. So another 9% right here. So I'm getting a lot of juice from this one jewel, and I bought this jewel for 10x. This was a 10 Exalted Orb jewel. Now the other benefit to this, it also gave me life regen and rage on melee hit. So I'm getting 1 rage on melee hit here, 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 and another one here. So I'm getting 4 sources of rage per melee hit. So every time I hit an enemy, I get 5 rage because of this jewel. and I'm getting 4% increased life regen because of this jewel on every one of these nodes as well. So I'm getting a good source of life regen. I'm getting powered attacks being buffed, so my Warcry attacks are getting buffed as well. So that's all coming through on all these miniature nodes. So this is a super high value jewel, and I'm even getting these ones on swap. So, and I could even run these as well, which I think I probably should be running. I think these are also good nodes. So for example, I could grab those two, and I think these are also very good. So I don't think there's anything wrong with these other two nodes right here. But then I looped into the constricting command, and I grabbed all these nodes. And I did a little weapon set split right here because I need more armor and stuff when mapping. So I didn't bother to run. I didn't bother to run all of this. I just ran this stuff for mapping, and then the same thing here. I ran this stuff for mapping for more speed. I came up here, did a little split here to get some more melee damage and a little more crit chance. So that's on weapon set 2. I did a split on weapon set 1 right here. So this is to get all movement speed stuff. So I got all the movement speed reduction. And again, if you could get like a expensive from nothing diamond right here, you could run these two without having to path to them. But these things feel really good. So, and then I just looped into here and I grabbed this one jewel slot because it's just right there. So I might as well grab it. You know, a couple of points, get to it, and then I could drop my Heart of the Well. Again, this is bugged in Maxroll. So my Heart of the Well is just a whatever. It's just a melee hit, rage when hit, and extra chaos and some skill speed. So I think I bought this for like 1 divine before these things became popular. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. And then I looped into here, grabbed these nodes. This is a little split for weapon set 2 just so I could get more damage. So nothing wrong with that. Grabbed all these nodes. Now, I did try to avoid running the constricting command for as long as I could, but I eventually caved and started running it for the simple fact is it made me fast, and I really like to be fast in the game. I really hate feeling slow, and because I was able to run all this extra movement speed with this helmet, all this extra movement speed feels really good. And this extra movement speed here, man, 10% more movement speed here. These nodes here for more movement speed. This just feels so good. I really didn't want to run this helmet. It kind of messed up a lot of the things on my build because I had to drop all my area of effect nodes. And I really like area of effect on my attacks because it's really frustrating when you use an attack and your attack just doesn't reach as far as you'd like it to. So I did drop those, and that feels better to me to add it back in on my passives. So for example, now I'm running 2 sources of area of effect on my Sunder just to try and get the area of effect back that I lost because I hate not having the area of effect on my attacks. It just feels really bad when you're mapping. So I honestly, the build is great without the constricting command. It just makes you faster, and being faster in this game feels really, really good. So if you want to feel fast in the game, you can get that constricting command helmet, and it will make you feel a lot faster. It makes the game a lot better to play as a warrior just because you don't feel so slow. So I definitely would recommend it if you just want to feel a little more speedy. But yeah, that's pretty much it for as far as the skill tree goes. This is probably the last setup on it. Like I said, there's lots of little tweaks you could make, like try and get to this node if you can. Picking up those couple nodes there. You know, there's so many good nodes on this tree that I think would be decent. So, I mean, this tree works great. There's nothing wrong with this setup. All those different from nothing diamond options you have, so you guys should do okay. Alright guys, so I wanted to talk about from nothing diamonds. A lot of people have been asking about from nothing diamonds. So I'll just go straight into from nothing diamonds. There's a bunch of good options for from nothing diamonds. And I'll go through kind of all of them here and show you them. First off is just blood magic. This is a good from nothing diamond because you can get Prism Guard, you can get Beast Rage, you can get Splitting Ground. So there's nothing wrong with this one. You can also get Vengeful Fury. So I think this one is actually very good. I think this is probably one of the highest value from nothing diamonds because you can pick up a lot of really valuable nodes here. So boom, 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 boom. So this is a good from nothing diamond right here. So this would probably be my first choice for a from nothing diamond. If you don't know what a from nothing diamond is, when you place a from nothing diamond in your tree, and I have a bunch of them just for an example, but this one's at Avatar Fire. So I can go in and I can allocate that node, even though my chain isn't attached to it. So I can allocate this node and I can just have it. Now, to get rid of that node before I can take the gem out, I will have to go and remove it before I'll be able to remove the from nothing diamond. So that's an example of how that works. So if you're using the from nothing diamond in this particular spot, in Avatar of Fire, I would use Overheating Blow. I would probably pick up Roaring Cries and Inherited Strength and Titanic. What I might do is run these two nodes on weapon set 2 for bosses, run Titanic on both nodes, and this could be beneficial if you're struggling to get enough strength to wield your weapons with Giant's Blood, because this will give you 5% increased strength. So this is a good option. You can also anoint this for cheap because it's a pretty cheap anoint. So if you're struggling for strength, you can anoint that as well. So I would pick up these two, probably on weapon set 2 just for bosses, but they'd be fine for mapping also. This one here, you could also reach heavy armor with this from nothing diamond. So you could get this one, and then you could also get this 22% increased damage with maces, and you could get this stun build-up one if you wanted as 2. So that would be all the ones I would take if I was there. There's also this one right here, Resolute Technique. I think this one is very good if you're playing a defensive build, because you'll be able to reach Unbending, Behemoth, and then Honorless and Breaking Blows. But most importantly, you'll be able to reach Hunker Down, which is 20 life when you block. So if you're running a shield build, this is going to be huge for you. So if you are running a shield build, I would definitely pick this up. And you can get a from nothing diamond and just go boom right there. So I'd get this node. I'd probably get Unimpeded as well. I was running this last patch. I like this a lot. Unimpeded's pretty good. So I'd get Unimpeded, Behemoth, Unbending, Breaking Blows, and Honorless if I was running a, and then of course Hunker Down. If I was running a from nothing diamond there, I think that'd be very good. Let's see. Val Pact is a good one, but it's very expensive because I think all the bow Andes are running it. So Val Pact is not bad. You could get Momentum and Light on your feet. You could also get Bloodthirsty, which isn't too bad. So this would be a decent one because you could grab Bloodthirsty there as well. And you might even be able to reach this node here, which it wouldn't be too bad. And if you're running Bleed, this might be a good one too. So yeah, I don't think this one's too bad either. I think you could probably run this one, these two, this one. Yeah, I think all of those are pretty good. And then down here, Iron Reflexes. This is a good one too. You could run Gem Enthusiast. You could pick up these if you're running any sort of evasion setup. You could run Last Stand if you're using a Constricting Command Viper Helmet, because this gives you the 25% attack damage while surrounded. So that's not a bad one too. That's if you're running a from nothing right here, I'd probably grab that one. I don't think there's too many more down here. I don't know if you can reach Crystalline Resilience from that one. Probably not. That's just a few examples of good from nothing diamonds. I mean, there's a whole bunch all over the tree. I was testing a bunch of different ones, but those ones I think are the highest value. This one here is not super high value, but if you were running War Cries, you could probably run this one because you could get these two, this one, and then you could pick up Hail Hard as well. So yeah, this is probably a pretty decent one too. But yeah, I think the highest value ones probably are over here. There's another one up here too. If you run this one, Pain Attunement, you can reach Molten Being and get some nice bonus damage here. And you can also get Swift Claw. So you could grab some damage here and grab some damage here if you put one up here. So this one isn't too bad either. It's probably pretty cheap. I don't think there's too many other ones that are super high value on this tree. Those are probably the most invaluable ones. I think there's probably one more up here. Yeah, up here. This one's not bad because you can use Pure Chaos and Tempered Mind. So you could pick up Chaos Inoculation and run Pure Chaos for some extra damage, which is pretty good. And then you could run Tempered Mind for some extra damage, which will give you a little bit of strength and some extra fizz. So this one's pretty good too. I think that's probably the best ones on the tree. These ones down here are probably more high value defensively, so I'd probably focus on those. So that's what I would do if I was running From Nothing Diamonds on this setup. All those From Nothing Diamonds are going to be good. Avatar of Fire, Resolute Technique, this one up here, Pain Attunement. Yeah, this other one down here wouldn't be too bad if you're running the constricting command helmet. This is probably pretty good. This one would be good, but it's very expensive. That's probably it, honestly. I don't think there's too many else on here that are really super high value. This one, a Giant's Blood, doesn't really give you too much. You can reach Brutality from it. And maybe if you're running Glory stuff, this wouldn't be too bad. But we don't have Axes yet, so this one's not super high value. But anyways, that's pretty much it for From Nothing Diamonds. Those are the ones that I would run, and you have lots of options there. So just run whatever one you like and think works best for you. I think if you're going for a more defensive setup, I would probably run this one. If you're going for a more offensive setup, this one might not be too bad. But there's lots of options for you. Alright guys, so I went and bought a From Nothing Diamond just to show you here. And I picked up the Blood Magic one because this one's really good. So you see I can pick these nodes up, but I don't have to path to them. So I'm able to get, with this gem, I'm able to get access to Vengeful Fury, Prism Guard, Beast Rage, and Splitting Ground without being connected to the tree. And this is just all super high value nodes. And I'm able to save a bunch of points because now I don't have to spend these points to get in here. I don't have to spend these points to get in here. I don't have to spend these points to get into this one. And this is a hard one to path to because you got to loop all the way in to get to it. But this one gives you rage per armor. So this is a really high value one. There's nothing wrong with this, and it's very cheap. I just bought this one for 7x. I just bought this for 7x. I'm not kidding. And like if you go and check, we'll just do Blood Magic. There's probably a whole bunch of them. So Blood Magic. There it is. So 7x. Look, there's a whole page full of them that are like 10x. Now the price of these will probably go up when I post this video, but that's fine because you can also use Avatar of Fire. So if you go and you look for the one that is Avatar of Fire, now you're going to have a bunch of other ones. Look at this. These are all 3x. And like I said, this is also good. And there's a whole page of these. So I give you guys a bunch of options. So if some guy tries to or some people go and buy them all out, you have a million options because you have this one, you have this one, you have this one, you have this other one down here. So you'll basically, you'll be able to find at least one of these for cheap. So either be it this one or this one, or this one, and all of these are under one divine. So this one is a really high value one because you're going to get these 4 nodes right here. So I would probably run this one if you want a cheap one that's nice and high value. This one is also cheap with pretty decent value. So that's just an example. Once you slot that in, now you can grab all those and you're off to the races, and you're going to free up a bunch of skill points that way. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. So if you've got any questions, like I always say, this is just like a normal place for like non-toxic people to like discuss ideas and help each other. So if you've got questions, just put them in the comment section below. And if you're like a smart, like Chad warrior player, like a Chad player in general, don't hesitate to give people advice because people always appreciate your advice. So, you know, give them advice if they ask. People really do appreciate that. And don't be scared to ask a question just because you think it's stupid. There's no such thing as like asking like a stupid question. Like, it's just important. It's better to just ask and like learn. The game is complicated and there's a lot to learn and no one can know everything. I definitely don't know everything. I'm just sharing what I do know to help people with what I do know. And, you know, if you've got like little bits and tidbits of information that you think is valuable, make sure you share it. And I'd also like to say that I'm sorry there's ads on this channel. Like, I didn't really want to put ads on this channel, but like the couple $100 I'm going to make from running ads on this channel, I'm going to use to like buy new PC parts, which will make it like easier for me to like make videos and like play this game. So like, I'm sorry there's ads, but like that it'll get me some more RAM and stuff for my computer and probably a new graphics card after playing this build, because I'm pretty sure it's going to like explode. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, I guess I appreciate all your guys' support. Everyone's been really cool and super nice. Some people have, you know, like been like douchebags a bit and like made some like rude comments and stuff, and I just banned them. But like 99% of you guys are really cool and you like throw supportive comments down below. And I just want you guys to know that I really do appreciate your supportive comments. So if you do, you know, say something supportive, I just want you to know I really do appreciate it. So if you know, if this did help you, like throw a comment down below and like say thank you or something, because it does mean a lot to me, because this is a lot more work than you think it is. Like, one of these videos takes you like 3 or 4 hours to put it together, and like you still want to play video games in between. So But yeah, I guess that's basically everything. So if you've got any questions, pop them down below. I'll just see you guys on the next video, and cheers.